Hello, good morning, and welcome friends, visitors, and guests to Thomas Jefferson Unitarian Church. Wherever you come from, wherever you are, and wherever you might be going, you are welcome. Whatever your culture, identity, philosophy, or diet, you are welcome. Here, you are not your occupation, your station in life, your disease, you are simply you, and we welcome you with open arms. We would love to get to know you. Please join us in Zoom breakout rooms after the service for coffee and conversation. Bring your own coffee. And please, or talk to Janet Taylor, our Congregational Life Coordinator. TJ Coffee Chats continue on Zoom Monday through Thursday at 9 a.m. and happy hour is on Friday at 5. This Wednesday, Lori Sargent and Audrey Schultz will join us to talk about their artist perspectives on exhibiting their work in the Roberta Marx Gallery. Audrey's exhibit of horses has just finished, and Lori's exhibit of miniature weavings is scheduled to begin this fall. A memorial service for TJ member and leader Ron Gross will be held this coming Saturday, August 15th at 1 p.m. by Zoom. The Settled Minister Search Committee will be facilitating discussion groups on Sunday, August 23rd after the church service. These will last 30 to 45 minutes and replace our coffee hour for those who would like to participate in the small breakout sessions. The questions will be emailed in advance, and these will help us in our search for our new minister. We hope you will take this opportunity to let us hear from you and build on what others have to say. Your contribution is valued.
I really like this challenge. It serves your clarity of purpose and illumine our way as we set about doing the work of this congregation in commitment, in cooperation, and in love. Our opening words are by Bayard Rustin. This urge to stereotype groups and deal with them accordingly is an evil urge. Its birthplace is in that sinister back room of the mind where plots and schemes are hatched for the persecution and oppression of human beings. We're now going straight to Barbara's piece, Tranquil Home.
Well, in work, I have the honor of finding wonderful stories to share. And one of my favorite authors is Peter Reynolds. And he wrote an amazing book called Say Something. And so this morning, we are going to attempt on screen talking to you while you can also see the illustrations from the book. We'll see how this goes. We can't all be big decision makers or sit on the Supreme Court, but there is something we can all do. You see, the world needs your voice. Mine? Yes, yours. Go ahead, give it a try. Remember, it doesn't need to be perfect as long as it comes from your heart. And you don't have to be loud. A calm, quiet voice can have great power. As a matter of fact, you don't actually have to use words at all. There are so many ways to say something to make a difference, with words, with actions, even with creativity. So let's imagine you walk up to someone who's sitting all by themselves, And maybe they look really sad and even lonely. You can say something without a word just by being there for them. If you see an empty canvas or maybe a piece of paper with nothing on it, you can say something with a brush or maybe a marker. And if you walk by an empty lot that yearns for someone to pay attention to it, you could say something just by planting some seeds for everyone to watch grow and bloom. And if you witness someone being hurt, you can say something by being brave. Maybe you can call for help. Maybe you can ask the person to stop. Maybe you can use your cell phone and record the scene. Let's say you see something that touches your soul. It might be something beautiful, and it might be something that captures your heart in some other way. You can say something by writing about it. Let's say a brilliant idea occurs to you, an important thought that maybe no one else has ever had. Share your thought with confidence. You might just change the world. It's important to show the world who you are and what you value. So find your way to get out there and say something in a way that's true for you. And if you're angry for whatever reason, maybe about the way someone is behaving, or maybe about something that's happening in the world, it's important to say something to help other people understand. You just might help them think about things in a new way. And if you see something happening that is unjust or unfair, say something. Sometimes we can do that through peaceful means, and sometimes we need to protest actively. Remember, the actions that you take may inspire others to do the same. Sometimes when we say something, it may seem that no one is listening, but keep saying what is in your heart or on your mind. And sooner or later, you will find someone who listens. And here's the really important part. Keep on saying it. You may find that more and more people will listen until at last the whole world is listening. When you feel grateful for all the blessings in your life, say something to the stars, to the universe, to whatever you may think of as holy. There are so many different ways to say something, and it's easier for some people to do than others. But everyone has something to say, something to stand for, something to express. So when you think you're ready, be brave and say something in a way that is right and true for you. Your voice can help inspire, heal, and transform. Your voice can change the world. So the question right now is, are you ready to say something? I wonder, what is the something you might say today? What's very important to you? If you'd like to share, go ahead and enter that something in the chat box. And while you're doing that, let me leave you with some words that come from Unitarian minister Edward Everett Hale. I'm only one, but still I am one. I cannot do everything, but still I can do something. And because I cannot do everything, I will not refuse to do the something that I can do.
We'll now have music by Sarah Stivers and her group at 17.
So we're switching out at 17 by Janice Ian to Sam Cooke's version of This Little Light of Mine, because it speaks to what we can do every day in terms of saying something, doing something. So This Little Light of Mine. Shine, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, show my love. Hey, everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, show my love. Even in my home, I'm gonna let it shine. I'm gonna let it shine. Even in my home, even in my home, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. When I see my neighbor coming and she's different, I will let it shine. I will let it shine to honor what's in her heart, what's in my heart. Even when I see my different neighbor, I will let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine to see my love. Play a little for me, Anson. Play for me, Hunt. Say something, Megan. And my friend Diego. All you people at home, I'd like to hear you guys sing. You're not close enough for me to hear, but you're certainly somewhere where I can see you. All you got to do is sing This Little Light of Mine. I see you, Ernie and Arlene and Sandy and Bobby and Debbie and Ray, Shane and Janet, Wyeth, Chris, Deborah, Roxanne, Hope, Bernie. How you doing, Harvey? You're looking good. Sing. Amen. Sing that with me. Amen. Put your hands in the air. Amen. Susan's got it. Amen. Amen. Come on, Deborah and Judah. Amen. Amen. Here we go. Amen. 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 You all are beautiful. Clap like this.
Lively opening for our speaker today. Chris Hartman is the executive director of Kentucky's Fairness Campaign. He has helped quadruple the number of Kentucky cities with anti-discrimination LGBTQ fairness ordinances. I could go on about Chris's numerous credentials, but it would take up much more time than we have. Chris, go for it.
Thank you. Let me sanitize first. I want to make my governor proud. I don't know about you all. That's one of my favorite things to do. Get a little sanitization going on here. Well, I'm excited to be here at TJ, soon to be something else, right? I think that's a marvelous decision, and I'm excited that TJ is making it, but I always love being here with our TJ family that has long been supportive of the Fairness Campaign and of LGBTQ rights for as long as we've been doing it here in Louisville. And of course, now we're working statewide all across Kentucky. And you all, I believe, your statewide justice network that the Justice Center is talking about forming is planning to go statewide as well. So I'm always excited to be here at TJ. I think I was last here in 2017 when you all hosted a marvelous fundraiser for the Fairness Campaign menu with the Progressive Action Committee of Kentucky. And that was huge, raised more than $10,000 for the Fairness Campaign. And then the last time that I spoke here at a service to celebrate with you all was in June of 2014 for Pride Month of that year. And a lot has happened since that Pride Month. I do, though, first want to ground us in Pride. I know that we're a little more than a month out of Pride, but it's so important to remember why Pride exists. Every June, we celebrate LGBTQ Pride Month, but why do we do it? I think most folks in this room, and I think most in our TJ community likely know that it is an honor to the Stonewall riots of June 1969, when predominantly black and brown transgender women threw the first bricks and bottles at police officers who were regularly raiding, violently beating, and arresting LGBTQ patrons just because of who they were. And how can we not see the similarities, the lack of change as we fight in the Black Lives Matter? We have seen repeatedly video proof of what black and brown Americans, but particularly black Americans, have been telling us forever, but people, much like Doubting Thomas's, needed some proof to believe it. Well, we've got it now. We have seen countless times at the hands of law enforcement officers the beatings and murders of black Americans, and I am so excited that this is the moment, I feel, when a greater majority of white America than ever before has woken up to our complicitness in a systemically racist America, and that we actually have to be actively anti-racist, actively doing the work to undo systemic racism if we are truly going to pursue justice for anyone in our country, and particularly here in Louisville, as we deal with the murder of Breonna Taylor and David McAtee, and countless others through the years. You know, in the 90s, fairness volunteers and Kentucky Alliance Against Racist and Political Repression and so many others were being arrested in the streets then as well. What has changed? This is a moment, it's an inflection point in which we've got to center the Black Lives Matter movement and the history of black and brown folks leading all civil rights movements, including the LGBTQ rights movement, because had Pride, had the Stonewall riots, 5 nights of rioting in New York City against police, had that not occurred, we would have no LGBTQ civil rights advancements today. And I do want to talk about the incredible advancements since the last time I was here. In 2014, there were still only a handful of states in the US where you could get married if you were LGBTQ. The very next year, though, of course, 2015, we had the historic ruling. You get big bonus points if you know the name of the case. I'll let folks maybe try to type it into the chat. You get bigger bonus points if you can spell the name of the Supreme Court case that won the right to marry for all LGBTQ Americans in June, once again, Pride Month of 2015. I bet there are maybe a couple of answers coming in there. We'll give you got 5, 4, 3, 2. Obergefell v. Hodges, right? Named after Jim Obergefell, who had a very compelling story, an Ohio man who married his husband dying on a tarmac in another state and sued the state of Ohio to be listed as his husband on his birth certificate. And Jim Obergefell, not far away in Cincinnati, continues to advocate today. But of course, we don't want to forget there were 6 Kentucky families that were part of that historic Supreme Court case. The court case could have been Love v. Bashir. Turns out whichever state files first, in this case Ohio, gets the Supreme Court title there. But Kentucky was one of 4 states in the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals, so they're the ones that went to the Supreme Court. So we've got an incredible legacy here in Kentucky with those 6 Kentucky families that stood up and that were part of the maybe 36 plaintiffs at the Supreme Court. I'm sure that you all have seen that a lot has happened since marriage occurred. The last time that I was here at TJ speaking at a service, we had 6 Kentucky cities at that point that had banned LGBTQ discrimination. Louisville, of course, did it first with employment protections in 1999, then Lexington, then Covington, and then we didn't have a new fairness ordinance for a decade. And then it was that tiny Appalachian coal town, population 334, with the openly gay mayor, Johnny Cummins, VICO, named after an actual coal company, the Virginia Iron Coal and Coke Company, VICCO. VICO became the first city in a decade in Kentucky to pass an LGBTQ fairness ordinance, and they were the pebble that loosened the boulder that started the landslide. And then our state capital of Frankfurt, and then at the end of that year, 2013, Kim Davis's hometown of Morehead passed his fairness unanimously. Who saw that coming? Well, she must have been out of town on that day, right? So in 2014, last time I was here, we had 6 cities. Now we have 20 communities all across Kentucky. 19 cities and 1 county, Woodford County. Of course, Jefferson and Fayette are covered by Louisville and Lexington's fairness ordinances. But that is 20 communities that have stood up to protect LGBTQ folks from discrimination in employment and housing and public accommodations, but it is still not enough. It leaves almost 3/4 of our Commonwealth who still live in a place where LGBTQ discrimination is legal today. Now, not in employment any longer. I'm sure everybody saw a month ago our conservative Supreme Court, led by Justice Neil Gorsuch, penned a 6-3 opinion that banned LGBTQ workplace discrimination across all of America by interpreting sex discrimination to include LGBTQ folks in the 1964 Civil Rights Act. Now, that is likely going to lead to housing discrimination protections all across America. It's going to take a little while, but that's likely to happen now based on this precedent at the Supreme Court. But public accommodations, public places, going to a business, eating at a restaurant, visiting a public park, 70% of Kentuckians still live in a place where that type of discrimination is legal today, will be legal tomorrow, and will be legal until the Kentucky General Assembly passes a statewide fairness law, which I unfortunately wish I could bear you better news, is unlikely to happen this year. Well, next year, really, 2021 is what we'd be talking about. But that's true for the majority of America as well. 70% of Kentuckians live in a place where LGBTQ discrimination is still legal. The majority of Americans still live in a place where some types of LGBTQ discrimination is still legal. So if you take nothing else away today, and I think probably most of our TJ community likely already knew it, is that the Supreme Court ruling from a month ago did not end the struggle for LGBTQ civil rights, just as the Supreme Court decision for marriage in 2015 did not end the struggle for LGBTQ civil rights. Now, we've made incredible progress with the help of so many of you all who have shown up to our Capitol in Frankfurt, especially when we have our big rallies every February. Mark your calendars. If we're back in person, we'll be there February 2021. But to advance LGBTQ statewide fairness with record numbers of co-sponsors, more senators, state senators, Republicans and Democrats in Kentucky this year signed on to statewide fairness than ever before, but mainly to stop the attacks that are coming like you wouldn't believe against LGBTQ folks in Kentucky in the General Assembly. So since the marriage ruling, and now I guarantee since the Bostock ruling for employment protections, the other side has become more ferocious. When you paint an animal into a corner, right, they're going to attack. And so we've seen more anti-LGBTQ legislation filed in Frankfurt that we've had to fight year after year after year since the marriage ruling than almost ever before. And this year, in the 2020 Kentucky General Assembly, we had more anti-LGBTQ bills filed than in the past 5 years combined. And almost all of them targeted who? Our transgender community, who have become political fodder, just as gay marriage once was, just as gay folks in general once were. Now the ultra-conservatives, the think tanks, the groups that are similar to the Fairness Campaign but are doing the opposite work, like the Family Foundation and the Commonwealth Policy Center, they believe that they have found the issues that will win them elections for their ultra-conservative friends. And so what did they try this year? I mean, they reintroduced a trans bathroom ban that would once again penalize students and particularly school districts who allow trans students to use the restrooms with which they identify. We saw a medical care refusal bill for trans youth that would criminalize doctors. The Kentucky General Assembly proposed and seriously considered a bill this year that if a doctor is offering any type of trans-affirming or gender-affirming care to a youth, that they would be criminalized and potentially sent to jail. These are the priorities right now. Even in the midst of the pandemic, they were still debating whether or not they were going to move forward with a trans athlete ban, or the broader, more overarching medical care ban, which started looking real dumb in the midst of a global pandemic. But this was a bill that would have said, if it had become law, that any worker in a healthcare setting, no matter what they do, any worker could refuse service to any patient based on any religious or philosophical belief. Now, you're suddenly going to get a whole lot of philosophers that are working all over the hospital if they get to pick and choose who they're going to care for. But these were the bills that were seriously considered in the 2020 Kentucky General Assembly. Fortunately, we beat them all. But I'm going to caution that the reason some of them stopped was because of the pandemic, because everything stopped. So 2021 will be likely the same, if not much worse. Our vigilance cannot let up. Now, some other great things have happened since I was here in 2014. Since then, we got our first city in Kentucky to ban conversion therapy. Covington, I know, that's exciting. Covington is the first city. I believe Louisville is going to be the second city. Keep your eyes peeled. This is a TJ exclusive right now, maybe. Keep your eyes peeled. I believe that in short shrift, you're going to see movement to ban conversion therapy against youth because we know it kills them. Doesn't change them. Doesn't help them, isn't any form of real therapy, it's torture, and it's murdering children. And so I hope that Kentucky becomes the next state of the more than 20 now that have also banned conversion therapy for minors. And I do want to end on a real good high note. We got one big thing accomplished since the last time I was here, and this is more fairness than TJ, but we helped elect arguably, I'd say, one of the best governors and human beings that the Commonwealth of Kentucky has ever seen. We're getting a little bit of applause in the aisles here of the couple of folks that are here, but it's important for so many reasons. It's important because he has now become the first sitting governor to ever attend our statewide fairness rally in Frankfort. He's the first sitting governor to call explicitly for the passage of a statewide fairness law. He's the first governor to call for a ban on conversion therapy. And while he was at our rally, you may have seen, it did dominate the news cycle right before the pandemic took over. For just a minute, he took a picture with the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence, who are drag nuns, and got in a lot of sort of hot water over it from conservatives who wanted to use this as a political dagger in a special election, a couple of other elections. And our governor, most LGBTQ-friendly governor in Kentucky history, said the capital, Kentucky's capital, is for everyone. And I welcome everyone here, and I'll take a picture with anybody who shows up who wants to make their voice heard in Kentucky's capital. And so he proved that yet again, firmly. At the very end of Pride Month, just this past, about 5 weeks ago, on the last day, he issued the strongest pro-LGBTQ executive order in Kentucky's history, both ensuring LGBTQ workplace protections for state workers, but also banning discrimination against LGBTQ folks explicitly in all state services and agencies. And that was a huge, huge step and an incredible victory. We've still got more attacks coming. Just this past week, there was a case in federal court here in Louisville where a big national group, a conservative think tank called the Alliance Defending Freedom, is trying to take away Louisville's fairness ordinance, trying to beat it back by attacking a couple of provisions in it. And honestly, I don't know what's going to happen in that case. Louisville could become one of the next sort of fighting grounds for a big Supreme Court case about whether or not cities, states, the federal government has the right to protect LGBTQ folks in all the ways that our fairness ordinance has in Louisville for the past 21 years. So I just want to encourage everyone to remain vigilant. When next I speak at soon to be named something different, but I will emphasize that the spirit of TJ is, of course, what makes the institution. And so when next I come to speak, I hope that we have a Federal Equality Act that protects all LGBTQ Americans from discrimination all across the United States. I hope that we see authentic police reform that truly does address community needs without violence, without aggression, without racial profiling, without outright discrimination, and absolutely without murder. and I know that you all want to see these things as well. I invite you to join me in the Fairness Campaign. Fairness.org, you can always sign up to join the movement. We'll let you know what's going on right when it's happening, especially during the Kentucky General Assembly, when any day, 12 hours, give or take, a bill could be moving towards a hearing, and we've all got to mobilize immediately. So I hope you'll follow along. You all have been wonderful throughout the years. I cannot wait to come back. I love you all. Typically, if there were folks in the seats here, I'd ask, what do you want? And folks might say fairness. And then I'd ask when you want it, and people might say now. What do you want? When do you want it? You at home, what do you want? Fairness. When do you want it? Now, I hope so. Let's go and let's make the Commonwealth fair together. Thank you all for joining us virtually today. Thank you to the incredible musicians. Oh my gosh, strings, brass, percussion, vocals, everything. Keyboard, and our incredible folks here at TJ who have made the production possible. Our AV, our camera, everybody, and our celebrants. Thank you for having me. Let's make Kentucky a state of fairness.
It's time I would give you a hug, but I can't. Sarah, you're up.
You know what? You're phenomenal. While the musicians are kind of settling in, I'd like to ask you folks at home, I sound like Lawrence Welk, to look up the lyrics to Stevie Wonder's tune, You Haven't Done Nothing. You can just pull them up on your phone, because Stevie Wonder wrote this song in 1974, and he wrote it directly. It was one of his political protests, and he wrote it directly at Richard Nixon and the situation. Nixon resigned 2 days after this song came out, and I've sung it in my head and in my car a million times and not really listened to how biting and how powerful these lyrics are. And these lyrics basically say, we're sick and tired of hearing you tell us how you're going to change right from wrong. Because if you really want to hear what we think, you haven't done nothing. And this could be the community of color talking to us, and this could be the immigrant color talking to us, and this could be the community of women talking to us, and this could be LGBTQ talking to us. We've got to keep pushing the ball down the field, because that was 46 years ago. 46 years ago, he pointed out. And then Chris got up and in the first 2 minutes talked about the fact that here we are thinking we'd made progress, and then we turn around and we're dealing with Black Lives Matter, and many people are having epiphanies that say, maybe I'm not doing what I should be doing. So anyway, this is for all of us who've been in the dark and are trying to get, as they say, woke. We are amazed but not amused at all the things you say that you do. Though much concerned but not involved with decisions that are made by you. But we are sick and tired of hearing your song, telling how you are gonna change right from wrong. 'Cause if you really want to know our views, you haven't done nothing. It's not too cool to be ridiculed, but you brought this upon yourself. The world is trying to pacify. We want the truth and nothing else. And we are sick and tired of hearing your song, saying that you will change your right from wrong. Because you really want to know our views. What are your views, Chris? You haven't sang this song with Stevie Wonder. Sing. Dooley-wop. Sing it. Dooley-wop. Watch my mouth. Dooley-wop. 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 You would not care to wake up in a nightmare that's become real life. What when misled a person's head can turn as cold as ice. Why do you keep on making us hear you telling that you can change your right from wrong? But if you really want to hear our views, you haven't done nothing. You haven't done nothing. Nothing has not been done, but not enough has been done. We haven't done enough. So dig in and volunteer and show up and protest and take care of your family and do all the right things to be a good person in this world and to live the life that you're meant to live. This is it for us. Diego Lira, Mike Hyman, Megan Pund, Hunt Butler, Anson Banks. I'm Sarah Stivers. Thank you so much for including us in your service. Thank you, Marie, for having us. That's it. You haven't done nothing.
Thank you, everyone. We're going to do some moving with the program here a little bit. I'm going to extinguish this chalice, thinking of all those words and thoughts unspoken. And then I'm going to go ahead and say closing words, and then we will follow with Lina playing Scarlatti in A major, powerful piece. Closing, we extinguish this chalice while thinking of all those words and thought unspoken. That was tough through a mask. The closing words are by Audre Lorde. Sometimes we are blessed with being able to choose the time and the arena and the manner of our revolution. But more usually we must do battle where we are standing. Now we have Lina's piece.